So we've created racism where it doesn't exist and tried to turn everyone into mini racists against each other, which has now manifested itself into a massive anti-white movement in our country where I believe, more than anything else, we should care about character, not skin color. Do you agree with that?
It's not, I don't believe that you understand what I'm saying. It's not that I don't agree with not, I'm sorry. Oh, it's not that I don't agree with, you know, what you just said, but you have to realize that black people are like, white people are not being hunted after. Y'all can come here and live a great freaking life. Alabama is a safe haven. These PhD fraternities and sororities are a safe haven for
you
white
think you're
people.
being hunted?
Let me tell. Okay, y'all can laugh, but until you have walked as a black person on this campus, y'all truly don't understand.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. Today, guys, we're back on this new video. Today, we're going to be checking out Charlie Kirk destroys race baiting students with facts. This is a compilation, and I'd love for us to check the video out together and see how it turns out to be. Let's get right to this video, guys.
I believe that you have more opportunities than I do, than other people.
But you came back to the mic based
All
on...
I have is my stories.
No, but
if you're not going to take it as facts, like, you don't take it as facts. They're
No,
my stories.
let's talk back why you came back to the mic. I want to make this so clear because there is zero difference between you and I.
If you're saying genetic,
Straight.
yes, but when other people...
Then why would we focus on those differences of which the perpetuation of this lie does? This divides us. This divides the country. Because then you start looking at people based on skin color.
But it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Well, it does not. Oh, it's racist and it's a lie. So it's both.
No, it's there.
Thank you.
Like,
Prove it.
Right, if you're not going to take my stories into consideration, then...
I will let another military member have that
just
conversation.
bring someone's like, well, that's a human being in a hat. Well,
You are a human being in a hat.
Like, anyone just like, oh, yeah, that's not... Like, they're racist. It's there. Like...
Do you think I'm racist?
I didn't say that.
No, I'm asking.
I have no idea. I don't know you as a person. I can't say that.
So the assumption would be
I'm not
neutrality.
sure. I'm not going to say yes.
You see how wrong that is, though? So the assumption is that I have to prove I'm not racist.
No, I take everyone as it is. Like,
Do you
I'm going to
think-
come
do you
I
think-
come to everyone respectfully.
Same.
In each and every way. Like, what you do as a character, that's on you.
Amen.
Now,
So
when it comes to the topic of white privilege, I still believe it's there. And if you're just not going to take my stories for that, what it is, just because one instance of a hardworking person that could do that, yes, that's great.
But you're another one. You're a living example
No,
that white
I am,
privilege
but
doesn't
I'm not
exist.
saying that other white people...
You went to the
white
military,
privilege
made good
is
choices,
there.
you have your act together,
They have more
you will live a
opportunities.
successful
That's all I'm
life.
saying. That I'll have a successful life just because I'm in the military?
No, because you made good choices. You have good choice privilege, not any sort of skin color privilege.
True.
Right? Did you not make good choices?
Not really.
No? Going to the military was a bad choice? Serving our country was a bad choice?
You said that.
No, you just said you made bad choices, so
I
I'm
didn't say I
challenging the
make...
premise.
No, you asked if I do make... I said, not really. I said, not really. Don't change it. You asked me if I make good choices. I said, not really. And then you
Well, I'm
went on
saying,
about the military.
based on the information you
That's
provided me, I said you've made good choices, like joining the military, because that
And
takes
then-
responsibility
and then you asked me if I
and
make
discipline
good
and
choices. I said,
patriotism.
not really. So.
Okay, so then...
So then, if you fail, then it's your own fault. It doesn't have anything to do with white privilege. You just said you made bad choices. Maybe that's why you weren't promoted,
I didn't
not
say
because
I
you were
made bad
black.
choices. Don't twist my
Straight.
words.
You just said you made bad choices, my friend.
I said not really.
That's a negative slight. So not really.
It's
So
being
maybe you
triggered.
didn't get promoted because you made not really good choices instead of your skin color, of which you attributed the basis of your white privilege argument on.
No, I have stories that can attest to the reason that they were white and they...
But you made not really good choices.
Oh, I guess you're just going to debunk me on that then. I guess so.
I look at you as a human being
Congratulations.
and as a son of God, not as a skin color.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'll start off with my credentials since apparently they matter.
Oh, they definitely don't matter
I'm
to
an
us.
8-year military veteran. I'm a college student. I'm
you.
a black woman, and I believe that white privilege fucking exists. So we're gonna start with that.
Why the F
Thank you
word?
for your service.
Thank you
And the
for your
reason
service.
why white privilege exists is because you guys refuse to acknowledge
You
the
guys.
history
Okay.
that put people in this position. You want to tell me that white privilege doesn't exist when white people had a fucking upper hand for 250 years to develop generational wealth, and that black people didn't get the right to fucking vote until the 60s, and you're going to tell me that white privilege doesn't exist?
So
That sounds like it
first of
exists
all-
Funny about
because you
that is
guys got the upper
I
You know
was
hand.
gonna
what's
say
funny
that.
about that is blacks were doing better during
Why
that
do
time.
we always call people
no,
blacks?
because you
you
I'm
did.
black.
Can we just be black people? Can we just be like African Americans or something? Why are we
The
just
black
blacks?
community, how would you like it said? What makes you feel better on the inside?
Really, anything else other than what you're saying?
Tell me, I'll say how you want
Anything
it.
else
I'll package
other
it
than-
how you need it. Tell me what makes you feel
Literally
This
anything
lady
else
is
other
very
than what
rude.
you're saying.
Okay,
But please
anything
finish
else.
your
Why
point.
is that anything else, right? During in the Jim Crow era, blacks were doing better. Economically, we're outpacing whites under the Jim Crow era than we were doing.
Let's
than we are
see.
doing.
It
I'm not
probably
done,
has
than
to
we are
do
doing
with the
today
fact that
after
we had our own
$22 trillion
communities
of government
before the
handouts.
fucking
The black
KKK
community-
came and burned them
The
down.
KKK were Democrats, but give me a second. So after $22 trillion of government handouts and a black president
After how many
for
years
8
of
the
slavery
black community
and
is worse
44
off
white
today than we
presidents,
were in the Jim
44
Crow era. How
white
is
male
that possible?
presidents,
Oh, I know, because they
97%
sold you your
white male
oppression and you
Congress.
bought it. So you're actually the reason why people like us can't do well, because they've sold you our oppression and you bought it. Blacks were doing better
Barrett,
under the Jim
If
Crow
you
era.
acknowledge the oppression of other people, we can heal from it.
No, we
but if
can't.
you want
No,
to
we can't.
ignore it, we
We
won't
can't.
have anything happen.
That's not how this works. Dialogue and acknowledging things doesn't make us suddenly rich.
So there's a question I do want to ask, which I can't seem to get an answer. What can she not do in America that a white person can do? What opportunity?
you.
You served in the military. You've made good choices. You're getting rewarded for them. You're going to live in the American middle class. What privilege do I have that you don't have that is based on skin color, not on wealth or socioeconomic status? Please.
The fact that you are sitting here with like little to no education trying to talk to people about white privilege is white privilege.
That's such a
And
liberal.
Tell me
honestly-
one thing I said that's wrong, and don't use an argument from authority.
That's like so.
An
that's
argument
Make a
from
good
authority.
argument.
I have a degree.
Don't
I'm
cite
arguing
your
from
credentials.
authority
I
because
have a
I'm telling
degree.
you my life experience.
That's not your life experience.
Name
That's a
one-
degree.
Really? I'm sorry.
one
Did you live my
thing-
life?
That means nothing.
Did you live my life?
That's a
Name one
degree.
thing
You're not smarter
that
than him
you
because you have a
can't do
degree. Just so you know
that
that.
I
That's a
can
fallacy.
do.
That's a fallacy.
Name one
Streets, they
thing
follow
that
us.
you can't do that I can do.
I don't know. I can't make a whole fucking dollar.
What? You can't? Why?
Oh my God.
You're trying to tell me in the military women aren't paid the same as men for equal work?
In the military, up until 2 years ago, women weren't even allowed to do most of the jobs that men
Answer the
can do.
question. You just said you couldn't make a dollar.
This lady get me
You
pissed
said you
every
could not
time.
make a dollar. You served in the military, which
Not
is
to mention that people in the military actually get paid a bullshit wage, but we're not going to
All
talk
right,
about
guys, so
that.
now we're moving
Yeah,
over
let's
to
talk
now
about.
we're moving
That
on
has
to
no-
Let's
nothing
talk
to do
about
with
for a
skin
second
color.
that you want to say that
What-
everyone in the military
what can I not
paid a
do?
shitty
It's a
wage,
feminist
so
lie,
that makes it
radical
right.
feminist lie, and they also sell. There's so many different ways they sell you your oppression, and she has purchased all of them today. So right now we are on sexism, right? So she's saying that I can't make a full dollar. Yes, you can. If women stop
Take
going
a lot.
in,
I bet
to-
he got
I'm not
paid
done
more to be
speaking,
here than
I'm not
you
done
did.
Speaking, okay. If women stop going into career
What?
fields like fashion and Vogue and journalism,
psychology.
and we
She's
start
playing
going
the
into
victim
fields
mode.
like
Engineering.
like engineering and
Business.
hard academics,
Finance.
we will make the exact same money that
If
men
not
make.
more.
The wage gap is a myth and
a
a
myth.
lie. It's a myth
Amen.
and a lie, okay?
Can I say?
It's actually a myth and a lie. I understand that you need to be oppressed, but you have just heard from two black people that haven't purchased their oppression from the Democrat Party. Respect that.
And what frustrates me is you served our country, which deserves to be applauded, and you have lived a life of a victor, and you have the gumption to tell me you're a victim without evidence.
How?
You were not able to cite one thing that you cannot do that I can do. If you make good choices, you will get those
You get
choices
rewarded.
And you brought zero evidence except an argument from an authority and an insult to my lack of a college degree, of which I am so proud of because I'm not indoctrinated because I didn't go to college. Thank you very much. For the next person.
Hi, my name is Erin. I'm a student here, and I'm an African American Studies major. But one thing I do agree with that you haven't said tonight is the school choice thing. I do agree that you should be able to go to a school that's outside of your zip code. I went to a great high school. That's exactly why I was able to come here. But my other question is that what are some examples of critical race theory? Because I know like another question that another girl came with, she said that she had to learn CRT in her sorority, and what I thought it was is that, you know, you should know how to interact with people of other races, because I went to a school where it's, you know, mostly Caucasian people, and I had to learn how to interact with other people. So is it something like that, or is it something deeper that we don't really know?
No, it's super simple. So let me just kind of ask you, I bet we agree. Do you support black-only dormitories?
Well, when I think of black-only dormitories, I believe that you're talking about like maybe HBCUs because it's mostly black people.
No.
Where are these?
Western Washington University, public school in Washington, has black-only dormitories. Is that something you would support?
I mean, I would probably live in one, but I mean that.
Wait, so you don't want to live with white people?
I didn't say. I mean, I didn't say that. But I mean, it's kind of hard sometimes. Like I have multiple. I mean, I have a lot of white friends or whatever. But sometimes, I mean, it's hard to fit in here.
Well,
when you go here and you're a different color, I mean, it's not hard to.
What would you support? White-only dormitories?
It's some around here. Not many black people go here, so it technically is white only if you think about it.
No, it's not. No,
I mean,
let me ask you another question.
I don't think anybody here would. Oh, well, some people might, support that. I mean, I never said I supported any only kind of thing.
That's why I'm asking, right? I think that
Do you support white only dormitories?
Absolutely not. I think it would be racist.
It's
and
preposterous.
disgusting.
I believe that.
And guess what? Black only dormitories are racist too.
I mean, I guess so. I might live in one if I could, but I can't. So.
Okay. Well, let me ask you another question. At Columbia University, they have black-only graduation ceremonies. Would you support that?
I mean, is it just like, so are they not able to graduate with the white people? Is that why they can't?
Well, they have a separate ceremony just for black people.
Oh. I mean, I guess it's kind of like the separate ceremony when they don't want to go to graduation. They want to do it online. That's how I think of it.
So do you think segregation is evil and wrong?
I mean, black people weren't even able to join sororities here until 2012. So, not the PhD one. So, segregation here. George Wallace put it in front of the doors.
I just know that's not true, and like, there's.
Okay, when were PhD sororities and fraternities desegregated? 2013. Oh,
so you're trying to tell me that black people were not able to join a fraternity because of the color of their skin?
Do you remember George Wallace too? Segregation now, segregation, for all, forever.
That's what
happened as well.
That's what you're espousing when you say that black-only graduation ceremonies or dormitories.
Black-only graduation ceremonies are the least of our problems, least of yours. Do you think that you'll be able to go to a HBCU and have this same turnout and have these same people? Let me tell you.
I would hope so, but I mean.
So what would you say to them?
But here's the thing. I'm sorry, what?
What would you say to a room full of black people about critical race theory?
You know what I would say? I'd say your skin color means nothing. You're made in the image of God.
You're right. But I completely agree. But I can tell you right now. I'm a Christian. I believe in God, but I have been going here for 3 years. I'm a junior. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I have most definitely faced racism and prejudice no matter what I believe in, and it's just really hard to sit up here and listen to people come up here and say, oh, I don't want to learn CRT. It's just making you able to interact with other types of people. I have no problem.
No, it's not. So let me just tell you. So at the Georgia public schools in Atlanta, they put black sixth graders in one classroom and white sixth graders in another classroom. Is that evil?
I've never seen. Can you show me a video of those kids?
Atlanta segregation of public schools.
Well,
it was
please
national
show me.
news.
Not to interrupt, but I have family members that go to schools in these areas, and I also have people who live in redlining districts where they can't go to good schools.
Do you support segregation?
No, I do not.
Okay, we agree. Therefore, black-only dormitories and black-only graduation ceremonies and putting sixth graders in one classroom based on skin color or the other, those are outgrowths of CRT.
So tell me, give me an example of what critical race theory is. That was my first question.
I'll be happy to tell you. So critical race theory is an emphasis at saying skin color matters, that the color of someone's skin is important in judging the value of the human being.
I get that, but if you were teaching a class that is like that was talking about critical race theory, we were all sitting here.
Yes.
What would your lecture be? Like, tell me what are your points? Like, who is this author that you're reading
Herbert
from?
Marcuse, and an author by the last name of Spinoza, wrote a book called One-Dimensional Man in the 1960s. Herbert Marcuse came from the Frankfurt School in the 1930s, and he started this at Columbia University. Coming out of a Marxist belief of power dynamics, he believed that power struggles were not just the rich versus the poor, but also black versus white. And he wanted to expand the kind of conversation to also engage racial dynamics. Inherent in critical race theory is a belief that people are not individuals, they're members of tribes. Inherent in the idea of critical race theory is that there is no free speech or reason or scientific inquiry. These are white supremacist, Eurocentric constructs that have been put into the Western world. And the one that I think that is most prevalent, CRT believes racism is everywhere, that racism is the norm. That racism is within our systems, it's in our language, it's in our customs, it's in our codes, it's in all these sorts of things. Now, that's a super quick version of what CRT is, so happy to dive into that more, but I think we don't have to overcomplicate it, which is, do you think people should be judged based on the color of their skin?
It's not that I think that, but it's that it's happening. And you cannot ignore that I might not be treated the same as him as he walks
You're
through
right,
the door.
it is happening. Like at Coca-Cola, they say they need to train their employees to abolish whiteness. At AT&T, they said they would need to train their employees to get rid of whiteness. We have a supply and demand issue with racism in our country. We have an incredibly low supply of racism and incredible demand to try to fulfill it. So we've created racism where it doesn't exist and try to turn everyone into mini racists against each other, which has now manifested itself into a massive anti-white movement in our country where I believe, more than anything else, we should care about character, not skin color. Do you agree with that?
It's not, I don't believe that you understand what I'm saying. It's not that I don't agree with I'm sorry. Oh, it's not that I don't agree with, you know, what you just said, but you have to realize that black people are like, white people are not being hunted after. Y'all can come here and live a great freaking life. Alabama is a safe haven. These PhD fraternities and sororities are a safe haven
You
for
think
white
you're
people.
being hunted?
Let me tell. Okay, y'all can laugh, but until you have walked as a black person on this campus, y'all truly don't understand. And I've gone to school with white people my whole life. I've gone.
So
but it's just.
I will end with this. You're not being hunted at the University of Alabama, and there is no boogeyman that's trying to get you.
It's not. You're making it seem.
You live in the least racist country in the history of the world.
You're in Alabama. You are literally in the place where it's not okay.
You mean the place that has given you more talking time than any other person here, and where they sit respectfully.
You're supposed to shut me down and be like, go sit down? I mean, of course I'm going to talk to you.
That would have happened 100 years ago. You're right. 100 years ago, you might not have been allowed to come into this room, which would have been evil. No, instead, we are here, we're creating a movement to say we never want to go back to the segregation that once existed in this country that is now being pushed by people in corporate America, in academia, and other places. We want to strive for a country that cares about character and the soul and the spirit of the individual, not on tribes, not on the melanin content in people's skin. And I will say this as compassionately as I can, is that you are not being hunted as a black person in America. There is not a single statistic that affirms that. There's not a single data point. Instead, the opposite is true. We are the least racist, most accepting, multiracial country in the history of the planet, and I pray one day you'll be thankful to live in that country. Okay. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Everybody.
CJ, come here. Really quick. I have a question. Come here. Go right there. Right there. So CJ, just really quick. You're a black person. Are you hunted at the university?
You know, I don't feel hunted at this university, but I guess the difference between me and some people here is that I don't choose to be a victim, Charlie, which I think is the biggest problem we have here today are people who wake up every single day looking for a reason to be oppressed, looking for a reason to cry and make an excuse about why they're not in a position to go win. I don't see the color of my skin as a disability. I see it as simply an accessory that I couldn't control. I've been black all my life. I've been black today, and I'm thriving here. I think that's a roll tide right there, right? I don't know.
And so CJ, let me ask you, CRT, racist?
It's not just racist. It's the exact iteration of white supremacy, just in reverse. I think it's important that we start teaching young people not to hate other people because of the color of their skin. We can teach black people to be proud of who they are without telling white people they should be ashamed of who they are. You know?
Amen. So, closing thought, CJ. Is this trying to divide the country?
It's not only trying to divide the country, it's trying to break apart the foundation upon which it was built. You know, people forget the words of MLK, Rosa Parks, all those people who fought so hard for us to be united country, where we didn't see the color of one's skin, but their character. This is about taking us away from the vision and the dream of Martin Luther King and just taking us to the dream of Kamala Harris, and I don't want to live that dream.
Amen. CJ, you're a great American. Give it up for CJ, everybody. So good.
I love that. I love that.
God bless you, man.
I love that.
Everybody, this was great tonight. I want to thank some of the disagreements. It was great as always. Everybody, Alabama's a great state. It truly is. And I just want to say God bless this wonderful country and for everyone being here tonight. And in closing, the future is dependent on what you do. If we act and if we're optimistic and solution-oriented, our best days are ahead. It is a gift from the Lord to live in America, the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world.
Was there ever a point in history where white privilege did exist?
No. Yeah, I suppose when we lived in a country where if you were black, you were not allowed to go into certain places, right? I suppose you could say again, and I guess that wouldn't be white privilege. You would call that Nordic privilege in the progressive era, when there were signs that said Irish need not apply. So that is white on white, a lack of a privilege. Of course, there's examples in the history of the world where you would have been privileged if your skin was white, especially in this country and in other countries as well. But today, no, white privilege does not exist.
When did it end?
Over time, beginning with the civil rights era, it's not a particular incident or moment, but multi-generations, the country became significantly less racist. I would say after Reconstruction, after the Civil War, after, when we had desegregation, fought the Democrat institutional racism, we fought back against the KKK, when the Civil Rights Act was signed, when blacks were allowed to participate in Major League Baseball, the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, serve an elected office. All those things, contributed to the end of what used to be privilege in society, white privilege.
You said less racist. Is it still somewhat racist?
No. Do you just have questions? I think.
No, you said you wanted a dialogue. We're having a
okay.
conversation.
No.
It's the least racist country in the world.
No, America is not a racist country today.
Is it still racist? So
No.
when did it end?
No.
You can't answer the question.
It ended when it's.
I just did.
Okay,
No, you didn't. You said less
I will
racist.
answer.
I'm
I'll
asking
answer. I'm
when did it
answering you.
end? Thank you.
When it stopped being systemic, when there stopped being laws in
Yes.
place that stopped
That's
me
a
as
great
a black person doing what you are able to do as a white man.
No, I'm not asking that. Systemic racism is not simply that issue.
Yes, you just asked
about
me to
the
define when it stopped being, when this
What about
country
what?
stopped being racist. That's the answer.
When?
That I can't give you the exact date and time and hour. I'm telling you
Give
when.
me the decade.
What do you mean?
Mid-1970s.
Yeah,
Mid-1970s.
yeah.
So mass incarceration affecting black and brown communities disproportionately
Because
to their population.
they committed more crimes.
They
Yeah,
committed
well,
more,
yeah.
As to why? Why did they commit more crimes? Is it
Because
they
we
are
ripped
black,
apart the
or was it
family.
because
It's
of their
not-
economic situation.
There's no fathers in the
and
home.
I'm not fucking talking to you, dude.
Why are liberals so angry? I can't figure out why
I'm
you're
not a
angry.
liberal.
Why are you angry
I'm not a liberal,
right
so
now?
stop assuming my political
Okay, well,
affiliation.
you
Definitely
just
not
came
a
out of
conservative.
nowhere and just start cursing.
No, you invited me up here, I raised my hand,
I know,
and
but
you
I'm
said,
saying
"Please
you
come
just
up
turned
here."
around and
No,
you're
stop
cursing
trying
at
to change
someone.
the-
Why don't you calm down? It's just a conversation.
perfectly calm. I can curse
You don't
while
have to
being
turn
calm.
around and curse anyone behind you.
I can.
You're okay?
It's a free country, right?
Okay. No, but I'm saying that it's not necessary to have this dialogue for you to
Necessary.
turn around and be angry. I do always remark, and I am going to suspect that you are liberal because right now you're trying to sell me
I'm
my own.
not liberal.
You're
I
selling me
just
my own
said it.
oppression, so that's a very liberal
I'm not
stance.
liberal.
Usually, when a white man stands up and tells me that yes, this is a racist country and is oppressed, they do tend to be liberal. Only liberals try to sell me my oppression.
I'm not.
But okay, I'm not going to assume your
Thanks.
political ideology. So here's
I do.
I mean, to answer your question for me, when the system stops being racist and there's nothing stopping us, and you brought up the prison rates, and you said something that was actually really important. You said it's because their communities have been economically depressed. So that would not be because of the color of your skin. That's economic privilege. If you ask me whether or not I believe in economic privilege, I would tell you yes. If you ask me whether or not I think that somebody born into a family of billionaires will be afforded more privileges in life than somebody that is born in the projects of Chicago, I would say yes, because economic privilege in this country does exist. But there is nothing, there is no law in place that is stopping a person because of the color of their skin from gaining that economic privilege, which is why I do not believe that white privilege, which is based upon the color of your skin, exists.
Is black poverty and white poverty different? Do
No.
they face different?
No, poor is poor.
That's a lie. White people are more likely to be in rural poverty, which is different than urban poverty.
That's because
in
black
close-knit-
people don't live in rural parts of America.
What?
That's because black people don't live in rural parts of America.
Why? Historically, why? Why did black people flock?
Because of Lyndon
to
Baines
urban-
Johnson, urban planning, central planning, Great Society, where he said, we are going to verticalize the black community, destroy the black father, introduce drugs in the late 1960s, subsidize single motherhood, which used to be 22% in the 1960s, which is now 73%. Only a government program could make something like that happen.
Did it have anything to do with the lynchings in the South and the hostility towards black people in the South?
Well, first off, you say
Is there any
you're
reason why they
sitting-
left the South for
just
that
so
reason?
just so everybody
Is that-
knows, literally not half people, 1/3 of the people that were lynched in the South were white Republicans. So Republicans were being lynched in the South as well. So let's not pretend that
okay, that's
if
fine,
your
but that's
argument,
not-
if you're
that's not
asking
addressing
me,
my
it
point. You're
seems
just-
like
that's a what about
it
argument.
seems
You
like
just addressed something else.
no. I just responded.
Does
You
it
said
have
it was a
anything
dialogue.
to do black people leaving the South and going to inner cities and other
He just
parts
answered
of
that
the
question for you.
Scar.
Anything
That's
no, I
crazy.
said, does it have anything to do with the KKK,
Very little to nothing.
lynchings,
Yes.
and violence in the South that black people faced?
So what it has to do with is the fact that black people continue.
Answer my question.
No, if-
Very little to
you're-
Does
nothing.
it? Yes or no?
Very
You're
little.
not allowing
Answer.
me to, okay, listen, you're not going to be like, you're not my boss.
You
So
guys
don't
do
tell
the
me,
same shit.
don't
You
tell me
guys
how
talk
I
over
have to
people all the
answer
time.
your
I was just
question,
over there with
okay?
you shutting people down.
Nobody's intimidated from you telling me how I'm
I'm
going to
not
answer
trying
your
to
question.
intimidate you. I'm
You're not
trying to
going
have
to
an
cut, you're not
honest
going to cut me off,
conversation.
okay?
No, I'm
So
trying to have an honest
why don't you
conversation,
stop,
which you
why
do-
don't
you
you
guys do
stop
not want to.
exercising your
It's
invisible
very
white
rude.
privilege and let the black girl talk for a second, okay?
That's nice. No, this has nothing to do with
Okay,
that.
so to answer your question,
So white privilege
everything
exists.
that you're
Wait,
talking
wait,
about,
wait, wait,
no,
wait.
I said invisible white privilege.
does it exist
I
then?
said invisible white privilege. If you listen,
Of course it's
okay?
invisible.
So
White
first
privilege is
things
not a
first,
tangible
white
thing.
privilege does not exist. Economic privilege does exist, okay? If you're asking me, do I think the black community has been crippled economically, the answer would be yes. It has been crippled economically by Democrat policies. You just heard
Who
me
cares
say that
who
in
does
there.
it?
I
Democrats
care,
are
because that
Americans.
tells you-
Democrats are in America,
because
so
that
therefore
tells
you
you-
just
that
admitted
tells you-
that there has been disadvantages
it
by
is not
two
race.
black
It
people
is
by
not- it is-
Democrats
It
who
is
are
not
American.
based
You
off
just
of
admitted
the.
it.
It is not based off. You asked
No.
me if white privilege exists. The answer is white privilege. Because you're born white, that means you're going to not
You
have
just-
this or that. It does not exist. No, it does
You
not
just
exist.
admitted that the Democrats, the boogeyman Democrats,
They're not boogeymen. They
disadvantaged
exist.
the black
Boogeyman
people.
doesn't exist.
No,
60 years
Democrats
ago.
do exist.
they did it.
So
60
boogeyman means doesn't
years
ago.
exist. Just so you know, there
We're
are
talking about
Democrats.
So
today.
you admit that it exists.
60.
I don't think you're comprehending. You're not.
So-
No, he's
Let-
not
let-
I'm not
comprehending.
sure that you are. You
It's not
said
comprehending.
60 years ago, white people had it better than black people. Over time, there's no more systemic laws that are in place. Let me
disproportionately
ask you a
affect black
question.
people, do they?
Let me ask you a question. What can a white person
Do
do
we
that a black person
disproportionately-
cannot do today in today's America? Name one thing.
well, black people have a
Answer
hard-
the question. Isn't that
I'm
how
about to
this
answer
works?
the fucking question. Black people who smoke marijuana, black and white people smoke marijuana at the same rates. Yet a black person is 3 to 4 times more likely
I can
to be
answer
put
that.
in jail for that.
Okay,
And I
because-
know the reason why, because yeah, the police are in the urban
No,
communities. It's easier to police those communities. Sure.
because
But that-
actually, I had a girlfriend. I had a family member who got a DUI, and I had a
You are
girlfriend who got a
disgrace,
DUI.
just to let you know, by just saying what you're saying and standing up here and knowing what's going on through the police brutality, through injustice,
I
all
love
this stuff.
This is so.
You're
I
a
guys,
joke.
I
You're
love
a
that
joke.
behind me. There's like black people rolling their eyes, but the two white guys are yelling at me, telling me that I don't agree with them. This is what I love about white liberals, right? Like they know
I'm not a
it's so
liberal.
important
You're a
for
Marxist.
them to sell us
No, I'm
our
not.
oppression that they'll come up and tell us we're a disgrace. Just
Do
say,
you speak
just
for all
say
black
it, just
people?
say it, just say
Can
it.
you speak for
well,
all
why
black
don't you
people?
stop speaking for black people? That would be
not.
great. Okay?
I'm not.
Thank you.
Think that slavery and ensuing Jim Crow laws had a lasting impact on the black community in the United States?
Some, and that's a good question. So if you correlate all the impact of Jim Crow and slavery, I would say that you could generously say 26% single motherhood in the black community in the 1960s. So about 26% of all black babies born in the 1950s and 1960s were born to a single mother. Now it's 77%. So I would ask you, why did it jump 50 points, 50%, since the Civil Rights Act as America got significantly less racist?
So that's fine. I don't know why it jumped. That who cares?
Well,
But
it wasn't slavery or Jim Crow. It
No.
was something else.
so the only lasting impact that slavery had on the U.S. was that less black families had fathers.
No, not necessarily. But have you ever known anyone that's owned a slave?
No, but I know a few presidents who did.
You know them personally? So you know anyone that was ever a slave?
Well, no, because So okay, I don't know anyone who was a slave. So it had no impact?
No, it had some impact. The question is, did it have an impact that is measurable and significant enough now in 2021, where we saw a key metric that influenced the livelihood of the black community, like single motherhood rate, that as America got less racist, all of a sudden now 77% of black babies are born without a father, where before it was 26%. And I suppose the question is this, because this is the question about systemic racism, right? What law that is in practice today actively discriminates against black people?
So here's what I would say to that. The idea of capitalism and America, like you said, is it doesn't matter who you are, show me what you got, is fresh start. So what would happen if you had like 150 years in a country for your family to build wealth, to own a house, to have a job, to get college education for your kids, to build generational wealth. And then you took another family who didn't have the opportunity to do any of that for 150 years and then set them off on the same even starting point. Is that really an even starting point? And would that not result in some kind of systemic disadvantage for those people?
The black middle class was the fastest growing demographic in the 1940s and 1950s until the Great Society Act and that intervention. It's very tempting to do what you're doing. And I'm not faulting you for it because you've probably been propagandized to believe it. And that's okay, because I think you're actually a victim in this case, because you've been misled to want to believe that things you never lived under, never understood, and that I think you are partially seeing had a disproportionate impact in the world that you're living in today. So for example, if that were to be true, then first-generation immigrants would not be able to quickly be able to make good choices and move up the ladder in this country, which I think we have some first-generation immigrants here tonight. Now, let me say this, that this idea that America is systemically racist to the core would also be quickly debunked by the fact that more blacks have legally immigrated to America since the 1980s than ever were here brought as slaves. Over 2 million blacks from the Caribbean and from Nigeria and from Western Africa have come here to America. So the question is, why is it that in every statistic that you could probably rattle off, are black people doing worse than white people? What is it? Well, I would point to the fact that fathers are not in the home, because it was 26% of black females in the 1960s were single mothers. Now it's 77%. If you look at the Brookings Institution, a liberal think tank, there are 3 things you need to do to stay out of poverty in America. Number 1, graduate high school. Well, because of public sector unions and the dominance of our government schools, that's harder than ever in far too many communities. Not just racial, not just black communities, not just Hispanic communities. The second thing, get a job, any job. And the third thing is to obviously not to commit crimes, but to try to get married before you have children. And so some of what I believe has contributed to the downfall of some of these communities has nothing to do with white people with the neck on black people. Instead, it's the following. Fathers no longer being in the home, the rise of sexual anarchy that came in post-1960s liberalism that removed this idea of sex being confined to a marital relationship, to be gratuitous and everywhere. All of a sudden you've seen an increase in not just the birth rate, but the single motherhood rate and abortion alongside of it. I would just ask this question, I'm just curious. How much do you think outputs are based on people's decisions, based on the advantages they're born into?
I mean, as someone who's taken Introduction to Sociology, your life is greatly influenced by what the conditions you're born into. But I promise this will be the last thing. Just, you say there's less fathers in the home of, many black families, and that's the issue. So what do you think is keeping fathers out of the home in those?
It's a great question.
Do you think it could be over-policing and police arresting, like, disproportionately?
We went through this, everybody.
Do you think it could be law enforcement disproportionately enforcing laws in black neighborhoods and arresting more black males than any other demographic?
So blacks are actually under-arrested and under-policed per the percentage of crimes they commit. We talked about some of those numbers. But let me tell you one thing in particular. In the Great Society Act, we decided as a civilization to subsidize single motherhood. In the 1960s, we told black women you no longer need to be married to have children, you can get married to the government. And we saw a dramatic escalation and increase of the deterioration of the nuclear family and a replacement of that of the nanny state and the welfare state. And I would say this, that every single activist group that steps up, that talks about systemic racism and oppression, if you look at the data, purely the data, if there is a movement to put black fathers back in the home and to try and challenge the sexual anarchy that came in the post-1960s and had a more prudent and pious view of sexual relations in America, which is a very unpopular view, by the way, for most Americans, but it's true that before the 1960s, sexual relations were, at least culturally, supposed to always be confined to marital relationships. The more gratuitous that we have been in trying to catalog it in media and in pop culture and in Hollywood and yes, in schools, then all of a sudden you have seen people say, well, why do I need to get married for that? Marriage is the bedrock institution, and strong families create strong communities, which create strong civilizations. And this is why immigrant communities that have come to America, and first-generation immigrants, they're able to move so quickly up the socioeconomic ladder because they might not have wealth, they might not have big bank accounts, they might not own a lot of land, but they have the thing they know that will keep them together, which is a family that will not be broken up at any means necessary. I'll finally say this. Let me just say this. No, I want to thank you for coming because it took courage to ask that question. I'm just going to ask you to do one thing. Please forget everything you learned in Introduction to Sociology 101 because it was likely all garbage. So thank you so much.
This is a lot, guys. This is a lot. I love Charlie. I love him, and people despise him because he speaks the truth. I don't know why they are angry. I don't know why they're bitter. I don't know why some black people take this so intense and play that victim role. Number one, a lot of those people who came out here are playing the victim attitude. From the first person who came, he was playing the first guy. He was playing the victim attitude. Then, secondly, the woman who said she can't make a dollar. She can't make a dollar. Like, that is the thing that a white person can do that she herself can't do. Like, it's crazy. Then followed by the other lady who's playing the victimhood that she preferred to stay in black-only dormitories, that she's being haunted. Like, what a crazy statement. You are being haunted in Alabama. Like, it's crazy, guys. It's crazy. Then followed by the white dude who was talking trash and garbage that is very rude and he was triggered. Then the final guy who I was brainwashed. Every single one of them, guys, are playing the victimhood. They are all playing the victimhood. The white guy who was very rude and was triggered, he has been brainwashed, and he's what's the word I'm going to use? He's a pure liberal, and he just don't accept who he is. It's crazy. Every single one of them is playing the victimhood. The black people come out here and say white supremacy is this, white supremacy is that. It's crazy, but the thing is that it's not true. There's not a single thing that a white man can do that a black man cannot do. In this 21st century, there is nothing. There is nothing. They just bring out the excuse of saying black are being oppressed, police brutality, the white gets job and they reject the black. Like, it's crazy. Those are stupid excuses. I'm not saying there are not cops who were, I won't say now, who were racist towards black people. It's happened. There are also black people who are racist towards white people. It's just that the black people just don't want to accept that. Every single one of them are playing the victimhood. And they are having that mentality that they can never go far. And with such aspect and such way of thinking, you see yourself less. Every single one of them who came out, every single black person who I saw here, are playing that victimhood. They're playing like they are the one who's been oppressed. They're the one who they have taken 150 years away from their life. No. The system is different. Did racism happen in the 16th centuries, in 1960s, in 18th centuries? It happens. It happened We all know that it's true. The slavery happened, yes. But what has it changed? Yes, it has changed. America is for me, I'll call it the less racist country in the world right now. Because they are against racism. America is against racism. So if someone come out here and tell me that systemic racism exists, I'll tell you it's a lie. Because I've seen for myself, I witnessed it. It's a lie. There is nothing a white man can do that a black man cannot do. Or there's nothing a black man can do that a white man cannot do. No. In the history of America, there have never been a black president before. But Obama became the first black president in the history. So there's no ranking or high ranking that a white man have gotten to that a black man have not gotten to. Up to the president, guys. Barack Obama is a pure black man. Pure black. There's no debate about that. But he was the president. That is the biggest rank in America. And a black man have achieved it. So any single person who comes out here and tell me that white supremacy this, white supremacy that, there's something the whites have privilege, that some things that whites can do and get that a black man cannot achieve, it's crazy. You're just playing the victimhood. You're just choosing to pull yourself down. You're choosing not to accept the fact that you can become whosoever you choose to be. That's something about this black people. When you notice them, they are very triggered. They are very angry. They are very hateful. They have that resentment in their hearts. Just once you know that these people are playing the victimhood, these people are angry. They're angry about what's happening before they were even born. There is no present person in America right now that ever owned a slave. It's funny as that. But there's no present person in America that ever owned a slave. And they just don't accept the fact. It's crazy. And the funny thing is that the first black guy was a military guy. The second was also a military. The guy and the woman, they're military. They have done something great in their life, and they have the victory story, not the victim aspect. But they choose to still become a victim in everything that happened. It's crazy, guys. Comment down below, think about this video, give us a thumbs up, share this video as many as you can, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you stay safe.